I remember the next day, a lot of us flew back from Kansas City and we went to the Royals game that night, and we're all just kind of like jet lagged from the whole 2 weeks, and we're in this weird kind of goofy headspace. And I went out and had a beer after the game with Kent Babb, who's a USC grad who works for the Washington Post. At that point in time, he was with the Kansas City Star. And I was just like, dude, what do you think? Like, how do I go about, let's put our heads together about what do I do now to get this book off the ground? And I remember the next morning flying home on Delta, really, really terrible seat toward the back, and just sketching out on a Delta napkin my outline for the book, like what I wanted it to be. And I probably was home a week or two. And then I went up and saw Jackie in Raleigh. He was playing with Team USA, and I caught up with him at like a DoubleTree in Cary and sat down. And I just wanted to get to them as fast as I could and start having those conversations, even though I didn't have a publisher. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I just knew if I spent time in those interviews that it was going to work out, that there was going to be some way to do it. And so I just went one by one and kind of caught everybody and talked to them and spent an hour or two with them and just cobbled together their memories, because I didn't cover a lot of that team's regular season just because they weren't very good. So I would do a Friday or a Sunday game or something here or there, but like I wasn't immersed day to day until really the tournament. So I had to piece together a lot of what had happened before. And there was a pivotal Florida series in there that kind of flipped the switch for everybody to change things. But that team wasn't going, that team was like borderline going to make the tournament, let alone host a regional. Obviously didn't host a super. So yeah, I just went and kind of just, I don't know, man. It's just like anything else. You make it up as you go. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I wanted to do this. I wanted to write a book. And I think that's the source of pride now, 10 years later, is like, I hope people look on their shelves and they're like, they see that book and they're proud of what happened. And it is a history book in a way, but I wanted it to be alive with the stories of that team and not necessarily just this regurgitation of, I didn't want it to read like a textbook of what happened. Like I wanted it to be full of the energy and reflect what that team had itself. And agreed to do the football book on the heels of the baseball book, not knowing that they were going to win again. So I was actually working on the football book, and that was kind of its own process. I was at the Columbiana, I think that's right. The old library on the Horseshoe, like the archive library, going through like the State and the Post and Courier and the Greenville News from like the 20s and 30s and 40s and trying to piece together. I did the 10 South Carolina memories. Larry Williams up in the upstate did the 10 Clemson memories, and then we just merged them together. But same deal. I didn't want it to be a textbook. I wanted people to like hear the stories from the people who were involved in these moments, almost like a magazine story. And we were interviewing people who played all the way back into the 40s. You know, we would find these people and go interview them. And so I thought that was a really cool, like I learned a lot about the rivalry because I heard from these people directly. So it was like, you know, the Todd Ellis, Tommy Suggs on back to Tanny Hill, and then you keep going back. And I'm telling you, we're back to like Dom Fuski was the guy I remember we talked to, and he unfortunately passed away, I think, right before the book came out. But, you know, we tried to find everybody we possibly could to have these conversations. And so that was a fun project. But it wound up where I wrote 3 books in about a year and a half because nobody was expecting the second one, right? And so all of a sudden you get back out there and they didn't lose the game somehow, despite their best efforts in a lot of places. And thanks to Matt Price and some of that defense that you talked about. But it was, I'm glad I did it. You know, I don't know if I'm rushing out to write another book right now, but I'm glad these 3 are sitting right here beside me, and found a publisher in Charleston, and certainly did not make much, if any, money off of it. Certainly for the time involved, I think my hourly rate would have been pretty criminal, but it was something that I was passionate about doing. Like I just wanted, and I think I'll be honest and say, I remember having a conversation with Ray, and I think he thought I was trying to maybe profiteer off the team or something. And as we talked, I think he came to understand like, no, that's not really it, man. Like, I just feel like this is my vocation. I'm here in part to be able to tell these team stories. And I think once he understood that it was a genuine thing on my part, he was like, oh, okay, and kind of opened up to me a little bit more than he was thinking about doing on the front end.
Yeah, putting out positive energy and great work, man. I think that's awesome. And obviously, like you said, it's a book that people still have on their shelves. Like I said, I'm going to work on getting them on my shelves because
I've only got the second one, but I'll get you what I've got.
Yeah, this is an absolute must to have in the studio, obviously. But again, it's one of those things, man. Like I said, it's going to be something people have for generations to come and living, looking back on those teams and what they did. And hopefully, there will be some more national championships to come here soon.
Yeah,
but,
need some fodder.
Yeah. In the meantime, though, having that to look back on and what those teams did, and it was incredible.